Who is the worst of them all? Is it people on the ep.stein files, the cart.tel, the hot.mas, President Pedo, I.C.E? You know who had the most sin out of all of them? Jesus Christ. The worst of the worst doesn't have as much sin as Jesus Christ had on the cross, because he took it upon himself to take all the sins of all of them put together, including the world, on the cross before he passed. I'm always surprised of people who read the Bible, understand it well, teach it, fail in the area of loving their enemy. Matthew 7, 1 through 3 says, "Do not judge others, and you will not be judged. For you will be treated as you treat others. The standard used in judging is a standard in which you will be judged. Why worry about the speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own?" Jesus led by example. I think every Christian will agree that we want to do what Jesus would do. So what would Jesus do when confronted with his enemies? Jesus Christ told us exactly what to do when confronted with our enemies. Jesus was arrested and imprisoned with Barabbas, and then he let Pilate free Barabbas, a rebel, a murderer, a leader of an insurrection, instead of letting himself be released, because Jesus loved Barabbas. And Jesus knew that he had to become worse than Barabbas in order to give people like Barabbas hope for salvation. Then on the cross, Jesus Christ gave his enemy the gift of salvation. Then on the cross, Jesus chose to die for his enemies while they were still sinners. And on the cross, Jesus Christ told his Father, "Forgive my enemies, because they don't know what they're doing," while they were killing him. Other verses in the Bible agree. Proverbs 24:17 says, "Do not rejoice when your enemy falls." Romans 12:14 says, "Bless those who persecute you. Do not curse them." Romans 12:20 says, "If your enemy is hungry, feed him, give him something to drink." Jesus showed us what to do. Pray for your enemies. Pray that they repent. Pray God leads them to salvation. Do not hate or judge blindly. Maintain a righteous character and show them mercy. As Christians, we must prioritize God's law over man's cruel and evil ways. God is for justice and against injustice. However, justice on earth can be strict, civil, fair, and does not need to be cruel. We're always quick to say, "Give them hell," but show me mercy. I'm not saying I agree with them or that there should be no repercussions at all. I'm just saying do it the right way. Do to others what you would want done to yourself and your family. If it helps, put your friends and families in that position and envision that. Presidents and rulers have the responsibility to govern the right way, to govern with justice, integrity, morality, fairness, and righteousness across the board, not choose who to rule with favor and justice and who to condemn inhumanely and unjustly. People on the ep.stein list and terror groups should be processed the right way. On the opposite end, Satan the accuser tells people to hate, and unfortunately, people pour out the hate. That's not from God. God commands us to love and show mercy. Two wrongs don't make a right, and the ends don't justify the means. There's a lot of hate today for who we deem to be our enemy, and that's against God. 1 John 4:20 says, "If someone says, 'I love God,' but hates a fellow brother, that person's a liar. For if you don't love people who you can see, how can you love God you cannot see?" What the El Salvador president did is wrong, but people, including Christians, support and praise it. That's a dictatorship. That's no due process. He put bad and innocent people in cages, and now he's offering to put more innocent people, immigrants, in cages. That's not right. And anybody watching this, if you have a tattoo, you would be in prison right now just for having a tattoo. That's not right, and that's inhumane. Those are not rich people. Those are poor. Proverbs 14:31 says, "Those who oppress the poor insult the maker, but helping the poor honors him." They are not lost causes to spew our hate on. Now, the next president is getting a lot of pushback for standing up for the Constitution and not letting soldiers go around ending people. But is it the right thing to do from a humanitarian or a democratic or a Christian perspective? Some Americans are quick to condemn and say that they should do that the army should go around ending them on the streets. But would that be the right thing to do? Are we doing that here in the US? Are they bursting into the Epstein people offices and homes or pewing them on the streets or locking them up? No, because there's a due process, or at least there was. So do we want that? With this in mind, would it be fair to give the army here the approval to just go around ending people that they think are bad or who the president thinks is bad? Currently, they pew innocent people all the time. Imagine if there was like no investigation, just assume they're guilty and then pew, move on. Is that actually what we want? Do we want I.C.E and local cops to just start pewing people with tattoos just because they have a tattoo instead of putting them in jail and arresting them and making sure that they have the right person without any proof and just pew them on site? We already know that they lie and make stuff up. I mean, they lied under oath in court. Now imagine if there was no accountability at all. Do we want to be under the rule of a dictatorship who just picks whoever they want, puts them in prison, or imprisons them based on how they feel? Keep in mind that in the end of days, Christians will be persecuted and judged unfairly. If you have a cross tattoo or a I.C.E or anti-Obama or anti-Trump tattoo, straight to jail. No due process, no checking if it's right. Favoring and approving this unjust treatment opens the doors to unjust treatment down the road. We know how it ends because the Bible tells us how it ends. We know that eventually people will be thrown in prison for being Christian. This is how it starts. It starts by letting the rulers take away due process and just base it on what the ruler thinks is right. Let's say down the road, an extremist, not regular, but extremist, Mu.Slim is elected and says anyone who is not Mu.Slim gets put in prison, no due process, straight to jail. Would that be just and fair? Of course not. So what's the difference if there's no due process? It is solely based on what they think or what they accuse you of, not what is actual facts. Or if Trump or Obama, whoever you don't like, accused you or your family of wrong, never really proved it, just accused you, is it okay if they just pick you up and lock you up without a chance to explain yourself or explain your innocence? Of course not. That wouldn't be okay. But is it okay if they have a face tattoo? We, especially Christians, should oppose the mistreatment of abuse of power of I.C.E or any person in power because it's wrong. Yet we're quick to say, it's okay, as long as the mistreatment is done to my enemies or people we deem bad, not me or my family. Who decides if a person is bad though? Just by looking at them. You, them. That judgment with uneven scales is wrong because we know that people would abuse their power. Christian, overall, especially in these end days, remember we're supposed to be the light in the darkness, not just go along with everybody else. We must ask ourselves what is right, just, and fair. And we can ask, what would Jesus do? And that's usually answered with, what did Jesus do?